We continue. Last class we were discussing the night of Rosh Hashana. After davening, you greet each other, you greet your friends with Yom Tov, Hashana Tova, Tika Sevi, V'Secha Sevi. We put it on the board, and we need to put it again. Hashana Tova, Tika Sevi, V'Secha Sevi. It's only the first night. Say with Yom Tov, Hashana Tova, Tika Sevi, V'Secha Sevi. That's how you greet your friends. If you're greeting a man for whatever reason, then you're going to say Tikasev V'Sechasim.
Why we don't adding the Chaim Tovim? Like where I live, we say
the night of Rosh Hashana?
Yeah.
There's different customs. I'm not trying to answer that. There's different customs. There's a lot of things, good things we could say, but this is the custom.
Like this is what they say.
This is how it's said. Obviously, I mean, we're saying Hashana Tova for good year. Good year means good year means L'chaim Tovim. That's what it means. There's different customs comes these things. Okay, so up to now, the first night of Rosh Hashana. First night of Rosh Hashana. So we come home, make Kiddush as usual, and we're going to be dipping the challah in honey. Starting from Rosh Hashana, we dip challah in honey. The entire Rosh Hashana, all the meals we dip challah in honey. And then we also dip challah and honey on Erev Yom Kippur by the Suda. The day before Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur, we have meals, and we also dip challah and honey. Sukkos, the Yom Tov Sukkos, we also dip challah and honey. There are those that also dip always, meaning from Rosh Hashanah until the seventh day of Sukkot, which is a Shina Rabbah. Shina Rabbah is the seventh day of Sukkot. There are those that will always dip in honey. Meaning when they're eating bread, challah, they will dip in honey. Yeah.
I have a question. So why then is Shmini Atzeres, why is it the first day that you stop eating challah?
Because that's the chasima, the sealing of Yom Kippur is on a Shina Rabbah, the seventh day of Sukkot. And we want the sweet year, so then that's when it finishes. Yeah.
But they use it, you need also to be salt, right? The Rebbe did that.
Correct. Good point. The Rebbe used to dip in salt too. So after, later on in the meal, the Rebbe would dip in salt separately. Correct. So we dip challah in, okay, so after the challah and honey, we're going to dip apple in honey. Okay, we're now discussing specifically the first night of Rosh Hashana. The challah and honey, we do all the meals of Rosh Hashana. But the apple and honey is specifically the first night of Rosh Hashanah. We dip the apple and honey. By apple, sweet apples, there's different types of apples. There's the Granny Smith, our apples that are a little more sour. We buy sweet apples, and we dip apple and honey, and we say the bracha, B'Rei Priya Eitz. This is after we dip the challah and honey. And after we say the bracha B'Rei Priya Eitz, we say, Yiratzei Milfonecha, Shetechadish, Aleinu, Shana, Teiva Masuk. So these are the words that we say. Yiratzei Milfonecha, Shetechadish, Aleinu, Shana, Teiva Umesuka. So after you say B'Rei Priya Eitz, you say Yehi Ratzei Milfonecha Shetechadish Aleinu Shana Teiva Umesuka. Maybe the will before you to renew, which means may be the will before you, Hashem, Shetchadish Aleinu, to renew upon us Shana Tova, a good year, a Masuka, and a sweet year. And this is said before we eat the apple. So we say the bracha by praise, then you say this holy hiratzin, and then you eat from the apple. That's how many Chabad is. In other circles, they do it differently. They say by praise, then they eat from the apple, and then they say hiratzin u'fenecha. They say this hiratzin. Okay. After we dip the challah, the apple and honey, now comes the rimain, the pomegranate. So the custom is that we take a pomegranate and we cut it first. And then you don't say eights because you already said eights on the apple. And you say shechiyanu, usually a rimain, a pomegranate, is going to be shechiyanu, unless you just had a rimain recently. So usually a pomegranate, you have to say shechiyanu, it's a new fruit. You say shechiyanu on it, and you eat some from the pomegranate. You eat a few, you don't have to eat a lot, small amount, whatever it is. What's the idea of the pomegranate? The idea of the pomegranate is, because a pomegranate has a lot of seeds in it. So the seeds represent our merits, meaning we want that our merits should increase like a pomegranate. We want our merits should increase like a pomegranate. Pomegranate has a lot of seeds in it. So it symbolizes the idea that we want to have a lot of merits. We want our merits should increase like a pomegranate. So we have more merits. And when it comes to the day of judgment, when it comes to Hashana, Yom Kippur, the scale is going to tip because we have a lot of merits. So we do a lot of things in the night of Hashana that symbolizes positive things. So we have an apple and honey because we want to have a sweet year. We eat a rimain because the rimain has a lot of seeds. We want our merits should increase like a pomegranate. Also, it is brought down that even though Yidden who do a lot of Avedis, Yidden who do Avedis for whatever reason, they don't know, or they know, they don't care, whatever it is, it's different types of levels. But even the Yidden who do a lot of Avedis, but we're saying they're full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. They're still full of mitzvahs. A pomegranate is full of seeds. Even the sinners of Israel, the Jewish sinners, are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. What does it mean they're full of mitzvahs? They're sinners. Because essentially the essence of a Jew is good. The essence of a Jew is good. A Jew wants to be good, wants to do good, but there's the Yetzer Hara that covers up and blocks the way, and the world, the Gashmistic world is sometimes very exciting and it pulls you away from spirituality. But in terms of the neshama, what is the essence of a Jew? The essence of a Jew is good and wants to be good. That's what it means. It's brought down that even the sinners of Israel are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. They're sinners. They're doing Avedis. They're full of mitzvahs. They're full of mitzvahs because in the essence, just like a rimon, a pomegranate, you look at the outside, no one eats the outside of a pomegranate. Can't only the inside. We also. We're telling Hashem, don't look at the outside. Look at what's inside of us. And inside, even the sinners of Israel are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. So, even the sinners of Israel. And the same thing for us who are not sinners. We're also sending a message to Hashem that yes, we have some sins here and there, but please don't look at how we're acting. Don't look at the outside, the things that we have been doing wrong. Look at the inside. Our inside is good and we want to be good and we want to do good. That's how you should judge us. So that's the message of the Riman. It's actually an interesting story. There was Rabbi Meir, who was a student from Elisha ben Avuya. From the Tanoim, the times of before the Talmud, the Tanoim, the Mishnayos. Elisha ben Avuya is brought in Pirkei Avos. You could see him in Pirkei Avos. In his later years, he became a heretic. Apikonis. He was became Apikonis, heretic. And generally, you're not supposed to learn from, if someone is a heretic, you don't learn from him because he's a heretic. But his students, Rabbi Meir, would learn Torah, would go to him and learn Torah from him. Even though he was a heretic, he would learn from him. And they asked Rabbi Meir, how could you learn from a heretic? So Rabbi Meir said, it's like a pomegranate. What do I do with a pomegranate? I throw out the outside, I eat the inside. I'm taking the good from him. Now, this is not for us. This is not. We can't behave like that. We're not supposed to be learning from a heretic. But Rabbi Meir was on a very high level. He was able to just take out the inside. So he said, I'm throwing away the outside, I'm just taking the inside. Another thing we do on the night of Rosh Hashana is we eat Rosh Ayil. We eat the head we're supposed to eat. We're supposed to try to see if we're able to get hold of the head of a ram. Rosh Ayil. Okay, it's called Rosh. Rosh Ayil, the head of a ram. And if we can't get the head of a ram, then we should get Rosh Keves, the head of a sheep.
Ayil is kosher.
Ayil is a ram.
Is it kosher?
Yeah. Keves is a baby ram, a baby sheep, and then it becomes a ram. When it gets older, it becomes a ram.
Ah.
Ayil, the Keves. The Keves Shem Gadol.
לא ידעתי שקוראים לזה.
זה Ayil.
חשבתי העיל זה כמו זה עם הקרניים ככה.
Yeah, but זה Ayil. Yeah, יש קניים. Ayil יש קניים, yeah. איפה שאתה מדבר על בהמה אחרת, אני לא יודע. Ayil יש קניים. יש תמונה?
כן.
אוקיי, תראה לי. יש כבש, then is Rosh dog.
This is העיל.
Yeah,
This is
it's a kosher animal.
Really?
Yeah, it's a ram.
I didn't know that.
Picture Ayil Pardi, Lovin Zag Ayil, there's a party.
Ah.
Wild.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a kosher animal, yeah. It's nice horns on it. It's not usual, but it's like a whole, it's a very interesting ram. Okay. Yeah, so preferably we're supposed to have a head of a ram. Practically, it's hard to get hold of. Even a head of a sheep is hard to get. Most people just have the head of a fish. What's the idea of having the head of a ram? There's two ideas coming together over here. There's the idea of having the head, because we should be the head, not the tail. Then there's also significance in the ram itself, the ram. The ram signifies the great Mesiras Nefesh of our patriarchs, Avraham and Yitzchak. Hashem told Avraham Avinu to take his son Yitzchak and bring him to Akedah and shecht him on Akedah, shecht him on the mountain. I'm going to show you the Akedah, right? Avraham went, he's about to shecht his son. The Malach said, don't shecht him. That was the greatest test that Avraham and Yitzchak passed. So this is the merits, our great merit that we mention many times in the davening and the Hashana and Yom Kippur, the merit of the Akedah. After the angel told him not to slaughter him, he noticed a ram. And he understood that the ram should be brought as a sacrifice instead of Yitzchak. So the ram reminds us of Akedah Yitzchak. So that's the significance in the ram, that we should eat the head of a ram. In other words, the significance in the ram and then in the head of the ram. The head is significant in itself. It should be the head, not the tail. And the ram signifies the great Mesiras Nefesh of Avraham and Yitzchak, and reminding Hashem, look at our merit that we have, the tremendous Mesiras Nefesh that Avraham was ready to sacrifice his only son. His whole future, he was ready to sacrifice because Hashem told him to. Yes.
I'm just curious, is there anyone these days who actually uses the head of a ram rather than a fish?
You mean the head of a sheep? You mean specifically ram as opposed to fish, or ram as opposed to sheep?
Ram, like ram or sheep, as opposed to fish.
Yeah. Sheep, I think, if anything, it's sheep. I think
Right.
ram is ready to, I think, I don't think they shecht the rams. I think maybe the meat is too hard. I don't think
Wait, but
that,
then how do they get the shofar? Not like in the Rosh Hashana context, sorry.
shofar comes to, what does it do? I mean, if they don't shecht,
Rams.
huh?
You said
Ram's
they-
horn, they just take it from
they
a
just
live
take it from a live
ram.
ram?
I don't think you have to shecht, I'm not even sure you have to shecht it first.
No, they just cut it.
I think they could cut it.
Okay.
They can cut it without shechting it. I think so, yeah.
We, the carrots.
Wait, is it the fact that it's eating? Like eating the head, or like if
Yeah,
somebody
we
had like
eat-
a taxidermy ram head,
Is it-
they should put it like
And what, the tax, what do you say?
like a taxidermy ram head.
Like
You know, like whenever they stuff
Tax-
it,
Like
like
you
let's
stuff
say
it
you
in
go
walls.
hunting and they put it on walls, you know what I mean? Like,
No, again, how many?
Oh, they have these like things in some houses, they have this,
oh
no,
wow,
I'm talking about eating from it.
right, so it's like
That's a habit.
specific, well, I don't know, you
Oh, they
said,
eat from the head.
We're
Yeah.
discussing now the custom to eat from the head of the ram or the sheep. There is some meat. You take off some meat, you find some meat on it.
like the meat of a face.
I like the.
Yeah, you're asking is the significance of having it in your house, I'm not sure. We're talking about the minute to eat
This is just
from
a custom, right? Like, it's just a custom for
it.
the
Custom, yeah,
Rosh
it's not,
Hashanah table.
it's not
So-
something that you must do.
So it's like, if somebody did this custom to bring in the spirit of Abraham and Yitzhak and the Akeda and everything, and like I'm saying, like, could somebody just have like a taxidermy head, like of a ram, and that's like the way that they're bringing it in?
You mean it's like, it's after, it's like,
Or
there's nothing on it, it's just the head.
yeah,
But it's, you can't eat from it then. The idea is-
right. So
The idea is to eat, it's not about having it
it's
on
not
the
having it
table.
as a reminder.
It's not that, no,
So you're saying
You eat it regularly, you just need like the.
it's not just about reminding, then you can say, put a picture, it's the way,
so it's not the whole head on the table.
it's not about putting it on the table, it's about eating from it.
Oh.
It's about eating from it.
I was thinking with the horn, that would take up
Wait,
so
can
much
you show them
space.
that?
With the horns, no, just that. The idea is just,
Like, you literally have
I
it.
said
So she didn't put the meat from-
Yeah, you do the
That
thing,
makes a lot more sense.
what are you showing? What's the
Yeah,
Yachid
on
Reish?
the table.
No, yeah, don't be.
No.
This is Reish Canvas, you don't see anything.
Yeah, I'm telling him, this is how you eat
People
it.
the fish head on the
They
table.
thought that you take the whole head and put it on the table with the whole.
No, you just take from the meat.
Yeah, so they
Right.
thought that you're gonna
Right.
put like the skull on the.
Right, no, you don't have to, okay, very good, you don't have to put on the table. The idea is to eat from it, to eat from it.
Okay, we were just confused because people have a whole fish head on the table.
Correct, because a fish head, you're right, you don't have to have the fish head on the table, but practically, that's the easiest way to do it. It's just a practical way how to do it. You put it there, people try to get out some fish. You don't have to be looking at the head if it's really annoying you. In any case, if you cannot get the head, if you can't get the head of a sheep, then you get the head of the head of a fish, then you only have the significance of the head, but you don't have the significance of the ram and the sheep. But there's significance in the fish too, because fish multiply very quickly. There's a lot of special things about fish. They multiply very quickly. There's no evil eye on fish. You can't cast the evil eye on fish because they're under the water. Their eyes are always open. This symbolizes the eye of Hashem that's always open. So there's a lot of special things about fish in general, to eat fish specifically on Rosh Hashana. And then you have a combination with that, you have to eat the head of the fish.
Should everyone,
Okay.
should everyone be doing, like everyone at the table eat from the fish head?
That's the custom, is everyone should eat from the fish head,
Okay,
just a small piece.
okay.
I mean, if you really like roast out by it, it's not like you have to, it's like you don't eat the head of the fish, it's like you weren't Yaitz in Hashana. It's not like that. But
Okay.
usually you could scoop out, find some meat from the head. There's not much, but you could, get out.
Okay.
Okay, so now this all is the first night of Rosh Hashana, and only the first night. Whatever we discuss now is only the first night of Rosh Hashana, besides the chal and honey that we do every meal. You have to remember, because the first night of Rosh Hashana is on Shabbos, so when you do candle lighting, remember the brachas are not the regular brachas.
Yes.
You're going to be looking into the machzor or the siddur and find the brachas, a bracha that combines Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah together. You're going to say Lahad l'knei shel Shabbos v'shel Yom HaZikaron. Usually you say Lahad l'knei shel Shabbos, Friday. And usually Rosh Hashanah you say Lahad l'knei shel Yom HaZikaron. Now you combine it together, but you'll find it in the machzor or in the siddur, wherever it is, and you say it from there. And then you say Shechianu, like every Yom Tov, you say Shechianu. Now we come to the blowing of shofar. The blowing of shofar is a mitzvah, but it's not an obligation on women. Women are not obligated to hear shofar. They're not obligated. It's what's called a time-bound mitzvah, that women are exempt. So you don't have an obligation, but you get the mitzvah. When you do hear shofar, you get a mitzvah. But that's why women will make an effort to hear shofar and Rosh Hashanah, because it's a mitzvah, but you're not obligated. And because you're not obligated, that is why if a man already heard the shofar, now he's coming to blow shofar for you, and he already heard shofar, he's not allowed to say the blessings, the brachas for you. There's a bracha before you blow shofar. He's not allowed to say the brachas for you because he has no obligation. He already heard shofar. So then the woman has to say the brachas. And if it's many women, then you could have one woman saying it for everyone else. You can have one woman standing up. All the women should also stand, because whenever you say a bracha on a mitzvah, you're supposed to do it standing. Almost every bracha that's done on a mitzvah, you do it standing. Very few exceptions. One of the exceptions is when you say a bracha on separating chabad, you can do it sitting. But other than that, there's another one when you for shechting, which doesn't pertain to you. But other than that, every bracha for a mitzvah you have to do standing. So when you hear the brachas of the shofar, you must stand. But the shofar itself, halachically you could sit, customers we stand anyways, but the main thing is the brachas. That's halacha that you must stand by the brachas. So if you have one bunch of women and the man is blowing for the women, the man already heard shofar. Man is not allowed to say the bracha for you because he has no obligation.
What is the bracha?
It's in the siddur, in the machzor. No. Lishmaya kel shofar, and then shechianu.
And the woman can blow shofar.
Could a woman blow shofar herself? I don't think it's a practical question because a lot of men can't even blow shofar. It's a lot of practice. Okay, I'm going to answer the question anyway. I'm just putting everything on the table. Even most men can't blow. They have to practice, and you have to know all the halachas. It's not so simple. So it's a theoretical question. Could a woman blow shofar and be yaitzer? It's not the best. Why? I'll tell you why. Because, the reason is going to sound a little funny, but it's not, because that's what it is. To fulfill a mitzvah, you have to hear from someone who has an obligation, right? So if you're going to hear shofar from a child, the child is not obligated, the child can't blow for you. If a woman is blowing and the woman is not obligated, so you're hearing shofar from a woman. Now the woman is blowing, you could be hearing, let's say, hearing from yourself, because you're blowing, let's say. Yeah, you're hearing shofar from whom? From yourself. Oh, you're a woman, and women aren't obligated. So you're going to be hearing shofar from a woman, even though it's you yourself are blowing, and you have an obligation. So being Yetzer Shaifa is questionable if you really Yetzer. It could be not even Yetzer. It could be either for sure you're not Yetzer or it's questionable. I never looked into it because it never came up as a practical question. But it could be not even Yetzer, the Chai Yetzer. It could be it's not even a question. But for sure, it's very probable. But practically, you have to practice how to blow physically. It takes a lot of work. You have to know the halachis. Just today in show, someone was blowing shofar. And okay, it's the month of El, so it doesn't really matter as much. But the guy blowing, didn't know what he was doing. Physically, you know how to blow, but the sounds were like spaced out too much, and it wasn't. You have to know what you're doing. So it's not so simple for a woman to practice to blow shofar. What for? The question will come up if you're stuck in a situation and you have no men to blow for you. When that happens, you never practice it. You don't do halachas. You won't. It's not like, oh, I have no choice. I'm stuck. But then, if you didn't practice it, you didn't learn halachas, you're not going to know what to do anyways.
Yeah, but like the mitzvah of the day of Rosh Hashana,
Yeah.
do your shofar, right?
Correct.
So how a woman is not obligated to show?
Oh, you're asking a question. You're asking why aren't women obligated?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Now I'm hearing the question. Why are women not obligated? We learn out from the Torah. The Torah teaches us, we learn from Psukim, that any mitzvah that's mitzvahs asay shazman grama, this is what it's called. Mitzvahs asay, this is a general rule across the board. Mitzvahs asay,
That on that davening also, right? I can daven after 12.
no, it's not correct.
It's not
You
correct.
mean after one these days? It's not correct. It's a big mistake. People make up these halachas. Mitzvahs, this is a rule. You can write it down and remember it. It's a general rule that goes across the board. The only thing is, this, even though this is the general, yeah, it goes across the board. Even though this is the general rule, but there happens to be a lot of exceptions because every exception, there's a reason why it's an exception. But if there wouldn't be that reason or that special teaching, this by default, this is the rule. And what default means that, hey, don't worry about it. There's a lot, it's not gonna, I'm gonna explain it. Mitzvahs are say, what's mitzvah say shazman gedomu? A positive commandment that's time bound. Every positive commandment that's time bound, women are exempt. Dashu Petunis. This is the cloud. Dashu Petunis. It's learned out from different psukim in the Torah. Now, there are exceptions. Matzah and Pesach, you're obligated. There are a lot of, there's many exceptions. Hanukkah, Purim, Megillah, you're obligated. Why? There's a special teaching that tells us you are. But if you wouldn't have a special teaching to tell you are, so that's what default means. If it's just the way it is, stam, without any special teaching from the Torah, just like that. Anytime the Torah speaks about a positive command, like it's time bound, like saying Shema every day. You say Shema, right? It's a very special mitzvah, but you're not obligated because it's a time bound mitzvah. So every time bound mitzvah, you are exempt. Like a Elul and Esrei, you are exempt. It's time bound. Sukkah, you are exempt. You get the mitzvah. Shofar too. That's the rule. Now, women do it because you get the mitzvah, you get reward. It's special to do it, but you're not obligated. The Torah didn't obligate you that you have to eat in the sukkah and you must eat shofar and you must spend Elul and Esrei.
But the sachar of the mitzvah is less than men, right?
That's a good question. There's the schar less. There's different opinions. I don't remember now how it is. It could be the schar. I think in the Gemara there's different things. Some say more or less. On one hand, you're not obligated. On the other hand, because you're not obligated doing it anyways, there should be more schar. I don't remember. I
But
think
it's
it's
like learning the Torah. Like I don't need to learn
Right.
Gemara, but if I learn Gemara, I
You
get less sachar than men. That's what
I'm not sure if it's. It could be you get less. I don't remember. It could
And
be.
I want
Try-
to wait for the davening.
Yeah.
I cannot daven after one shachrit.
No, okay, so we'll explain it to everyone. It's a question that's relevant to everyone. You're asking about davening. Could women daven after midday, after chatzos, being that they're not really obligated to daven? Could they daven after midday? And the answer is no, they cannot, because the time of davening is a time. You can only daven until midday. You can't daven afterwards.
Is that the shocking, sir?
By the way, women, even though they're not obligated in davening, but they are obligated to daven shachris and mincha. Or actually, let me rephrase that. Women are obligated. This is machlekes when it comes to davening. Are they obligated or not? On one hand, it's time-bound davening. On the other hand, the concept of davening is not time-bound. The idea of davening is to daven whenever you need Hashem's help. You daven. So davening itself is not time-bound, and that's why the halacha is that women should daven shachris and mincha. Now, it has to be in time. Yeah, it has to be in time because shachris has a time. It's incorrect that women can daven shachris after 1 o'clock. It's not true.
So
Big mistake.
how they may like put tefillin after?
Tefillin is not a problem. The problem is when they daven.
When you say daven, what do you mean? Shema?
It's not true.
Davening means the amida.
Amida. So you have to do Amida before one.
Yeah, the men who daven after one. It's one of the things that, in every generation there's challenges that people face in keeping Yiddishkeit. And okay, let's get everyone's attention. And let me finish explaining it. Every generation there's the challenges of that time, and now this is one of them that became now that people think, they put in their minds that it's okay you can daven after 1 o'clock, and it's not correct. You're not allowed to daven after 1 o'clock. There is such an idea that if a person gets up on time and he's preparing himself for davening, he's learning Chassidus, and it takes time, and he's involved in the davening, and it takes longer, and it goes after midday, that's a different discussion. That's because he's really into the davening. And davening with kavanah is very important, and even if it takes longer, goes past. So for Chassidim, this was accepted because the kavanah of davening is very important.
But what is the halacha?
But that is when a person is very into the davening. That means he gets up on time and he's learning Chassidus. He's davening the whole time. He got up on time and he's davening. There is this idea, even in Halacha, that if you start the Amida before midday, it's also good. There is this idea. So, by Chassidim, by the Rabbeim, it was accepted that if you're getting up in the morning and you start on time, davening. Chassidus is also part of davening. Chassidus is preparing for davening. And you're learning Chassidus, and you're davening, and it takes you long because you're concentrating. And it extends after 1. That's great. That's amazing. But now that you can daven after 1. You get up 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Then you take your time. Then you go here, you go there. And then you're busy. You have a job. And then 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you put on towel and you daven. It's wrong. It's not acceptable. It became... What happens is a lot of times when people do things many times, it becomes permitted. Because they got into the habit of doing it, in their mind, it's already permitted. The Gemara says, when a person does an Aveda a few times, it becomes like permitted, meaning in the psychological part of his brain. It's like, I did it so many times, it's okay, can't be I'm doing something wrong. I did it so many times. When a person does something, it has an effect on them. The same thing goes in the positive way. When a person does a mitzvah, it affects him from the spiritual aspect and also from the physical aspect, psychologically. You do a mitzvah, because this is a command from Hashem, so in your mind, why would I do something that doesn't make any sense? If I did it, that means it's something good about it. And then you want to do I'm saying even, it's not just psychologically, it's also spiritually. A mitzvah has an effect on a person. And that helps, that strengthens his belief to Hashem, his connection to Hashem, and that makes him want to do more mitzvahs and more mitzvahs. That's how it is. So b'chlal, you have that thing in psychology, what you do affects you. And the other way also, when a person does something wrong, he does it again and again and again, eventually convince himself, it must be okay, because if I did it so many times, or I do something, it has to be good. Well, I was wrong, I can't be wrong. I did. So you have, why explain this whole thing? Just when I have very simple that how, people do it. How could it be wrong? Yeah, because that's how it is. When people do things and they get into the habit of doing it, they convince themselves that it's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's 100% kosher, and it's not.
What about
Okay.
sort of minute before midday?
I just mentioned that as I mentioned halacha in Shulchan Aruch. This halacha that if you start the Amida before midday,
Yeah,
it's okay.
okay,
It first doesn't mean the chatchila you should do it that way.
Right.
It doesn't mean so I'm explaining, even in halacha, you have the idea if you start the Amida, the Shmin Esrei before midday.
yeah,
So I'm saying in Chassidus that takes it further. That the idea is you
Yeah.
already started early. So even if a person is really involved in the davening and learning Chassidus, even if he starts the Amida after midday, that's also fine because he's busy the whole time,
Yeah.
getting davening the whole time. But us, this is also considered you already begin the davening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just-
Yeah, another
just to be
question?
clear, when we say midday, we're talking about chakras, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Shachas, of course. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here.
I have another question, like,
Yeah.
this is totally separate actually, but I've been curious about. I recently just flew back from New Zealand to the United States, and I had a night flight, so at probably 9 p.m., I got on the plane, and I said, my bedtime shema and everything, because I was going to sleep. And anyways, I go to sleep and I wake up and it's the same day that I had before, and I had already davened Shachris and Mincha for that day and said bedtime Shema, but then I woke up and it was the same day that I said those things. Do I say them again because I woke up and it's technically like daytime again and I had a night? Or do I just not do any of
There
it?
was a night.
There was a night, but it's still
There
the
was a
same
night.
day.
There was a night. It became dark. You went
Yeah.
to sleep,
Yeah,
but then it became light again.
yes,
And it became day again because
because I'm flying like towards the sun.
I think I were just going some bullshit. Afterwards, we'll talk, okay? Right, so you went back a day, but you did have a night. It
Yeah.
became dark.
And it wasn't consistent sleep either. I don't know if that makes a difference, but
It became dark. It became light again.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's the same day. Hello, like same damage
Yeah.
calendar.
So in regards to counting of daima, that would make a difference. But in regards
Yeah.
of davening shachris, now it's morning. It became dark.
Yeah,
It became light again.
yeah,
I'll double check about that. But I'm
Okay.
pretty sure now it's day. David. Right now it's day.
yeah,
It is day. On the calendar, you went back a day, but now it's day for you.
or it's
It wouldn't make sense that it's
Yeah.
day and I don't have to daven.
right.
Something doesn't. I don't think that's. I'll try to remember to look into. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
We should